Hi, good day. My name is Jerry Abraham, and I'm here to take you through one of my projects that I have developed using UiPath's RE framework. So the end goal of this project is firstly, of course, to use the RE framework template, but to pick up, uh, I'll just take you through certain set of records and update this into a software, right? So there is what we would kind of typically do manually. So I will take you through, how this actually works. So here is this record, which is this file is called transactions.xlsx. And there are four columns. We would actually we will try to key in this information, right? So there are about 25 rows. You will see some of these have alphabets, and the status for some of this is process, and for others it's not to process. So you know why have I put this, what's the purpose, how are we going to use this. So in this you will see how we utilize RE framework, how we use queues, how the status, which is what is referred to as reference, how we're going to utilize that, how we use assets, right? So there are certain assets that have been created. So let me just take you through. So I'm going to utilize this queue, right? So this video or this session assumes that you have some handle on UiPath and how this works. Uh, Maybe not so much on RE framework, but at least some understanding, right? So then you're in the right place, right? So this would kind of help you to understand how we can leverage RE framework for this bit of automation. So I would be utilizing this queue. As you probably see now that this is right now empty. So we will have those 25 set of records that are getting updated into this, and I'll take you through that. I'll take you through the code, and I'm also going to utilize some of these credentials. So this one, the one called UIDemo credential, is where the password for the software is saved. Now, what does that software look like? Let me just. Okay, so this is the software. Okay, so the user ID is admin and password is password. Right, so those three columns that we saw in the Excel, right, are going to get updated. So cash in on US check and not on US check, they get updated over here, and you hit accept, moves to the next record. Okay, and you will actually see only the ones which are marked as process, only those would actually be fed into this. And how we're going to use those filters is what you will actually see. Also, there is a business rule that we are setting in, right? So business would want to have checks and balances. So we want to include that in our project. So here we would say only those if the data is numeric. So for here, I've just fed in this, but the filter has been put on all of this, right? So only if it's numeric, we want to feed that. Okay. So what are the things that I've utilized over here? As I run you through this, you will actually see, what are the templates that are being utilized. So if you look at this framework, right? So these are all state machines. So you need to have an understanding of what state machines is, right? So typically it would have an entry, an exit, and also something called as transition, right? So entry is when you actually enter, and exit is where you exit out of the particular process, and the trigger is what triggers the whole thing. What is the trigger, what is the condition, and also what is the action to be taken. So you need to have a little bit of understanding on state machines, and then this video is really going to help you, right? So the purpose of this video is not to kind of get into the nuances of all of that, but just to take you through this project and how this framework has been leveraged. So I'll be utilizing some of these templates over here. I will take you through screenshot and some of the challenges that I faced, some of the videos that I looked at myself, and the code didn't still work for me, and what I had to do and overcome some of those challenges. You may have your own bit. You will learn as you practice. You will learn, right? So let me take you to the first one. So I'm moving into the initialization stage, which is the first bit, right? So these exceptions there are two exceptions, right? One is system and one is business. So it just initially sets it to nothing. Config, you will actually see that it's a dictionary, right? Dictionary has keys and values, which is used for storing data, and it is set to nothing. Then we okay. So I have brought this process up front. This is something that I have learned, and I think it actually makes sense. So if you look at this in the original template, it's actually a little bit downstream. I brought this up primarily because we are going to look at the config file, right? In initialize all settings, which you see is the next stage. We'll utilize the config file. So let me just tell you what the config file is. So typically in the software IT industry, you would have this config file, right? So some of the things or resources that we're going to look at, so that bit of information is saved over here because we don't want to keep changing the code. So if there are any updates, this is where you would want to do that. What are the things that I'm going to refer to? What are the things that I'm going to the resources that I will be utilizing. So this has information on that, also certain constants, right? I really haven't touched this so much, leveraged this so much. But here, what is my queue, which I kind of showed you earlier, right? So we're going to look at this queue and what is the name of my folder in Orchestrator. So all that bit of information, where's the application? Okay, this is just a name, so we're going to utilize this in our so to log the log message. So that's why we're actually saving this. Also about the where the input file is, the input sheet, and where I'm going to save some of my screenshots. These screenshots are taken primarily in this project is more for business rules. So we want to also pass on that information to while this will get logged into the log file, but we want to send those. So I haven't utilized email, so you can actually put that, right? So it's not very complicated, but my primary focus was to just at least make sure the screenshot bit is there. So the screenshot is going to get saved, right? So we want to share that with business saying, this particular entry, there was an error, there was an issue. And you can also capture in the process transaction some other bit of information and save that. So I haven't done that on the output file. We can actually do that inclusion as well, right? So the idea was not to kind of do all of that, but just to make sure, uh, you know, uh, to understand how the framework is and how can I leverage some of these other things. You can keep on adding stuff, right, and make it more complete in that sense. So yes, you could actually do that as probably a next step. So coming back to, so let me just take you through. So here what I have done is, so in the kill process, uh, so I have actually made sure, these Excel files, so Excel and UI demo. Okay, another thing that you've got to make sure is I think you don't have to write .exe, but this is a bit case sensitive. So I've had errors when it comes to actually picking this up. It was I was uppercase, and I had error getting thrown up saying that such process is not there. Okay, so just want to let you know. So these are certain challenges that I faced. And yes, so we are saying kill if this is there, kill it if the Excels are open, because we're going to have trouble if the file is open. So we want to avoid that. So this is the first bit. Okay. Then we are initializing all settings. So this is where we're actually going to read from the config file first. Let me just take you through the arguments, right? So the assumption is you understand arguments. There are some really good videos that I've seen on arguments. Right? So this is the file. These are the two sheets, right? And this is where we're going to pass. So this argument is in the out direction. So all that bit of information that you saw is going to get passed on to this. This is a dictionary, and because it's in the out direction, it's going to get passed on to another argument, right? So that's how you use, right? So we are invoking this workflow here, and then we're going to pass on certain information out to other workflow, right? Where it's this here is getting called into the main in the initialization one. Okay, so I'm moving into the workflow. So this is what we saw out config. We're creating that dictionary. This is the sheet. Here is the file. So this sheet is getting passed on into the for loop. So if you have worked on some of the older versions of UI path, the new version, there are slight changes, and also in terms of making sure you activate classic if you want that. So I have done that. So if you look at, so there is this check, you just have to put tick on this, and then certain things you have to go to manage packages and install. So I've had to do that. Right. So I'm not utilizing this assets activity over here, but I'm calling it separately. You could actually use this. Uh, but yeah, so this is where we get passing on all the information. So this is the initialization part, right? So that's the second. So the two things that we've done so far, one is kill process, all applications and which are open, kill it. And the second part is where we are passing on all these values. So all the resources that we are going to utilize, its location, right? As simple as that. The location of these things, what is it called? All that information is getting passed on to out config, which in turn, because this is invoked, so this is getting passed on to config, which is another dictionary. So you will actually see that in arguments. Sorry, this is a variable over here. Yeah, you will see that config dictionary, right? So that gets passed on over here. Okay, this is these two things I'll skip. But basically, we are saying if the orchestrator you don't have that in config or the orchestrator folder, then we are hard coding. So make sure if it's empty, then it's getting passed on. Another thing that you have to note, and again, a learning is where we are doing the string.isNull or white space. This condition is primarily kept because dictionary will not take key as a, it cannot take a null value, right? So it'll throw error. So that's a check that we are doing. Uh, okay. Now this is what I'm pulling in from the asset. Okay. So here is something that I've kept as a flag. Is just yes. So if it is set to yes, so I'm saying, okay, it's only then that I'm going to feed my queue because I want to avoid duplicate entries. So for example, if my if for some reason, the application is closed either from Orchestrator, for which we have stop signal, but if I've shut it from here and the data is already fed, I may have duplicate entries. So once this flow happens, okay, it is yes. So it's saying whether this has been set to yes. Okay, we're passing this to an variable over here, and I'm putting a condition. Only if it is set to yes, then please read the Excel file. This is the file that we referred to earlier, right? All of that was in out config, which we passed on to this variable. Only then, okay, this is a data table, right? So here is the data table. This is already been declared in REFramework, so I'm utilizing that. And then we are passing it. So you could actually use a bulk add queue, but I've not utilized that primarily because I want to utilize the reference function, right? So it's going through a for loop and it's adding items to the queue, right? So what you saw in the Excel file is going to get added to this queue. So we are kind of centralizing all of that. So right now you will see there are no transactions over here, but once this runs, you will have about all those 25 entries coming in over here. And I'm saying, hey, you know what? Only if this is set to yes, then I want that, right? So once all of that is fed, you will see that this is changed to no. So I'm doing that. And at the end, when we are closing all the applications, we're setting that back to yes. So we're saying, if the user wants to add the next set of data, let that be yes. So that's another thing. But I've learned from a few other people, practitioners in the industry who are experts. So saying, when it comes to adding queue, keep it separately. Don't keep it as part of this. You may have issues. So I think that's a better practice. That's a good practice, right? So add queues, a bulk add, try and keep it as a separate module itself. It shouldn't kind of run through the entire thing, right? It should be kept as a separate activity. It's uh, it's safe to keep it that way because there may be duplications, right? So you try to do this. So there are such possibilities we just want to avoid, and I think it's a good practice to keep it separate. But for the purpose of this project, I've just kept it over here. I don't want to run multiple things for now, right? Uh, Yes. So these are those set of data points from the Excel. We are adding this over here, right? Uh, to the dictionary. Okay. So if you look at I don't know if you've looked at queues and how to build database and all of that. So that is typically. So all of this is getting added to the queue. Okay. Another important thing that I wanted to show you is reference. So this is what I was talking about. So if you remember, I mentioned about the status. So here I'm using that in in my reference. So I'm gonna pull this information, which we're not keying into the software, but I'm saying only those which are processed. So we'll come to that part. But this is getting captured, and so when you see the queue, eventually you will see that reference coming in over here: process, not process, process, not process. Okay. Then you will see status later, which we will see. So let me not jump go ahead too far. Right. So I hope we're good so far. Okay, then log message. Now this is what I said: set it to no. So we're just putting in log message, so we captured all that bit of information. You don't need the right lines. This is actually just for my kind of for the debugging. I included that. And then here we are invoking the application. So when we are saying invoking the application, let's look at this. So my credentials are getting passed on. This is what I've set as arguments in config, right? So everything in that config, the dictionary, it's getting passed on over here. So basically what you saw in the config file, all that gets passed on over here. So let's look at this workflow. So I'm pulling this from the asset. So if you look at this, okay, where is this assets? UIDemo underscore credential. This is what I'm getting in over here. And we are taking the username and password. Let me, okay, so I have put this over here, hard coded. You could actually put an assign, or there are other ways of doing this. So this is what I'm pulling from here. Okay, so it's saved as, so the data type is credential. So if you actually look at this, okay, this is credential. There are other data types as well, which is string text, right, which is what I've used earlier over here. So I hope you're good so far. Any questions that you may possibly have, please go through this video. Go through videos that are on REFramework, and you can do your own bit of research. It's not very complicated. That's what I've seen. It's really interesting in how we can automate. Okay, coming back to, okay, so once you have all this, then we are actually going through the login of the application. We are keying in. Okay, another important thing is over here is using some of these, right? So when you are going to use, so this is to do with background automation. So we are saying, yeah, so if it's a hotkey or something, you okay, so here we are saying simulate type. So even if it's in the background, I don't have to necessarily have it up front where I can see it. Even if it's in the background, I want to make sure my code is running, right? So that's why we're putting the simulate type as tick. By default, it is activate. Would I want to remove that, right? Otherwise, this may not work. Okay, again, we are saying, okay, so simulate type, put a tick over there. And then here we are using simulate click. So we're putting the user, so okay, so what we captured over here, the username is fed over here, the password is fed over here. It's a secure text that we're using, right? Otherwise, it'll give you error. Then we're pushing this login, we're clicking that. And right line is not required. This is just for my check. We are saying, okay, we just want to make sure, hey, element exists is whether that application has been opened up, right? So all that's so that particular output is a boolean. So we're just saying, does this element exist? So that's all that we're doing, right? So that is what it is. Let me close that. Okay, so we're just saying logged in successful, so on and so forth. So we are good. Let me not see anything right now. Okay, so we're good with this tab, right? So these are transitions, so which is part of your state machines. So like I said, you have those three elements, right? Entry, exit, and transition. Right after this, when we are successful with this, we actually move to, there are exceptions. So like I mentioned, the idea of this video is not to actually run you through REFramework, but to just tell you, how we utilize REFramework. You'll see a lot of good videos that actually take you through our REFramework. Okay, so this is where I said check whether orchestrator has been stopped from the backend or something. That's a stop. This works only in the orchestrator phase, right? This doesn't work in Studio. So yeah, so that is captured. We move on forward. Transaction item is set, invoke. Okay, so this is once everything is fed into the queue, we are actually uh, going to get all of those transactions out here. Here are certain set of transactions. So this is your data table. This is the config data and all the data from the queue, right, that comes out over here. Just a few important ones that I wanted to look at. If you look at this workflow, okay, so focusing more on, okay, so this is where I put a reference process, right? So we have process and not process. So in the ones which we have flagged as process, those are the ones we want to push forward. Okay, and rest is pretty much a standard template. Where are we? Great. So once you have that new data and it goes into, so we go into process. Once that is successful, it goes into the next. So if there are business exceptions, skip that, move into the next, right? If the system exception, then move to initialization, and finally, when it goes away successful, if there's no data, then go to end process. So this is like a transaction thing, right? So you will actually see there are three types of transaction. Okay, so this is not like your for loop, but it actually just takes one data at a time. Right? So that's why this is really good. Okay, so in the process transaction, so I've had faced certain challenges over here. So I'll take you through some of those, so you don't have to go through it. Hopefully, you get to learn from my experience. I'll just take you through this one. The rest is pretty much standard, but go through it. Right. So here, okay. So here are all the set of data. Here is the the config file thing. All that bit of information coming in over here. Let's look at the workflow. Okay, so I have passed on those set of variables, right? So if you look at this, okay, so you have your data, okay, dot specific content, and we are saying the first one being cash in, the other is on US check and not on US check. So all of that is passed on to some variables that I've created. Right, I said we want to include the business rule, right? So we are saying only if it is numeric, if this and this and this is numeric, only then move on forward, right? And you remember simulate type, so we are utilizing that. Actually, you could use cache in, just put cache in over here because you passed on that. I've not really changed that, okay, because I included the assigned part later. But you could actually put cache in over here, use those variables. That is a better practice. You can avoid typing a whole lot. So that is one benefit of using smaller variable names. Okay, right. So we're moving to all of this and we're saying accept. So, and then we move to the next. Okay, in the else part, so why I have put this is because when I still want to put that value, what I saw through my learning, I want to take a screenshot, but while it is not being fed, I wouldn't, I'm not going to hit accept, right? I'm not pushing this in, but I'm just want to capture that information. If there's an error, hey, you know what? I want to take a screenshot. Okay, so here we are throwing an error. This is going to get captured right into the business exception. So all that is going to happen. Uh, so I just took you through invoke process flow, and then you have set transaction status. So this is where your business uh, it goes through the various right checks whether this is. So I'm not going to run through this bit. Okay, your decision flow decision is here. We're saying is successful. So there's a boolean. So there are whether it is So if you look at this, it'll look at system exception, business exception. So that check is done. Okay, I will take you through the screenshot. So let me do it. Okay, so I have invoked the screenshot over here, right, in my business exception, because that's what I want to capture, right? And we are feeding in, not we are feeding in, but we're just making sure that information is available on the screen, okay? And so we take a screenshot. And certain challenges that I faced over here, so I'll tell you why I have put in these activities, right? So one is we're saying, so the active window was actually the form, the application form, UI demo form. So while I was taking the screenshot, I was getting the screenshot of Explorer. So I realized through my sort of learning in my practice and all that bit of research that I had to do, that I had to keep it active. And I'm also passing that variable to passing that to a variable. This particular active window to something called as window.session. Okay, and I'll come to this how I'm utilizing this. So we are saying, hey, keep this as the active window and take a screenshot. So we're just passing that. Okay, so we are not actually indicating on screen, we're keeping it dynamic, right? And we are capturing that. So whatever screenshot is being taken is being passed on over here. So if you actually look at this variable, you will see that it is an image. Okay, so that is the data type. So the right line is not required. So it's actually looking at the file path. So we are passing that again over here. To in underscore folder and argument. Where have I done that? Okay, so that passing has happened. Okay, so let me just. So if you look at this, okay, I missed this, right? So so to this argument, direction is in. I'm passing on in the config file. So if you remember, so this is the folder where we're going to save our screenshots. Okay, so just want to make sure you see that. Okay, so we are passing that. Okay, so all of this is all standard template. I've not really touched so much. Okay, so the other thing is that you have to see over here is, where is that? Okay. Okay, so this is something that you have to see. Part.combine in folder. So this is where we are saving that. Okay, so we are saying dot now dot. So this is how the name, okay, it's a dot png, that's how we are saving it. So every file has a unique name. So we are saying okay, so in this location exception screenshot, so this is the date time in this format dot png. So the next file, okay, so if anything else we're taking a screenshot, so it will have a unique name. And you can add email also over here, which I have not done, so you can actually utilize that and send it to the concerned business. So I'll just take you through something. Okay, so another thing that I saw over here is because explorer.exe was not open. Okay, I had trouble, right, saving that. So I would just get errors saying that this is not there, this UI element doesn't exist. So I had to open that. Okay, so we got the active window over here. We've taken the screenshot. We passed the value over here, and the entire path that I just showed you. So I'm here. I'm just making sure that it's actually the explorer.exe where we want to save. So that is open because there was problems with that. And this is where the actual saving happens. So you remember the variable that we mentioned, screenshot, right? This is an image data type is being passed out, and this is the location where it has to get saved. So we are saying save it over here. So this is just a log message. Okay. Another thing is make sure that you close it because it's going to open up again. So we want to use close. And this is another problem that I faced is that that window didn't become an active window. I mean, I need to use show window, and the variable that I mentioned earlier is getting passed on over here. So I'm saying show that window because when the next screenshot is taken, I want to make sure that I have the form information getting captured, right? So this was my bit of learning. So I'm just sharing that. So yes, I think we've pretty much covered everything that was critical in this. And end process, okay, here also I think I've done some changes. Uh, so your invoke, your kill is pretty much the same. No changes made over there. Okay, another thing that I wanted to share is no data. Okay, this is where I'm changing the asset. Okay, eventually when everything is getting saved finally, when you're saying no data, I'm setting that asset to yes. But like I mentioned earlier, a good practice, in my opinion, and from whatever I've seen and learned through various videos, my own bit of work that I've done, it's better to keep add queue item separately. If you're not going to utilize reference, you could just use bulk add queue item, right? So yeah, so that is that. And let us now actually run this and hopefully it works. So you will see this queue getting updated. Okay, so I'm actually going to run this. Okay, another thing in where is that? For newbies, just one bit of thing for me. This is what I learned. So I want to share that. I had to go through a bit of troubleshooting myself. So I just want to share this. Once you do all your debugging, when you're running this, not this is not for the experienced lot. Okay, people who know this. So we are doing is numeric. Okay, that check, and in the else part, I'm throwing this exception. If you're going to run this file in the debug mode, it's going to get stuck up over here. So make sure when you're running this, eventually when you've done all your debugging and all of that, that you don't run it in the debug mode because it'll get stuck up over there. I struggle, so I'm just sharing that. Right. So these are things that I've picked up, learned from a whole lot of different videos, different things that I read, and looking at people who are in the industry, who are experts, certified, and all of that. Okay, so let's just run this. All the best. Right, here we go. So it is running. I'll try and keep this open. Okay, so that's got added. Awesome. Let me just look at my code. Okay, all the data is getting updated. I'll keep this out window. Okay, hopefully the screenshot is going to happen now. It's happened and that file is saved. We will look at it. All of this is actually going. So the data is getting filled up. So here another screenshot is going to happen. So we saw AA, BB, and I think I put one more. So we will look at those. That's super awesome. And once you're done with all of this, and that's like a wow feeling. Whoa, man. So yes, I think we're done. So if I look at my out file, Where are we? Yeah, it is closing action. See, you look at this. So your asset is set to no. All of that has happened. Look at this. Okay, see. So all this. So if you look at this, okay, the throw exception has happened. It has gone in. Program is still running. It has gone and saved these files. So this is okay. So we're done, right? So the program is done. All the feeding has happened. That was transaction number 18. So we could actually capture all this information, I've not done all of that, so we can actually do that, process number and all that. So that becomes useful. So, okay, so here is the earlier one. So if you look at this flow, so it'll say business rule exception. So let's look at, okay, so let me refresh this. Okay, so, okay, this is the reference that I mentioned about earlier that I captured. So it says process, not to process. Okay, all of that. And see, look at this. So these have been processed successful, not processed. So that's remained as new. So look at this. It says failed, and you should have a oh, my bad. Okay, so failed. You will have business exception mapped over there. Okay, so that is there, right? So this is what I wanted you to look at. Okay, so let me go through the project folder. And we have saved this in input. Oh no, we've saved this in temp. And you can also delete. Okay, so there's an option for deleting. So there were three. If you remember, there were uh, so A, B. So there were three errors or exceptions that we should have captured. Data, temp. Oh man, that's pretty cool, right? So this is getting captured, right? So we could actually take a get OCR text and capture all of this. So and email that information. So business knows for this account, this transaction, all of that. So is captured. So you have this, right? So I hope you've got some handle on this. Please go through this. I am planning to kind of upload this in YouTube hopefully sometime soon. This is also there in my GitHub. Is Jerry AB31, I guess. I'll share that. And yes, that is pretty much it. I hope this session was useful for you to kind of understand, how the RE framework template was leveraged, how we could utilize this to kind of do our projects. It's got some of the best practices and some of the nuances, your struggles, your bit of practice. You will have your own set of learnings and yeah, do share that. It's always good to share. You learn so much in doing that. So, thanks a ton. Appreciate your time. Yeah, have a good day. Cheers.